Welcome, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you see this program. Welcome to our fourth edition of the Global Women Peace Network speaker series entitled Reflect, Reset, and Rebuild. My name is Angelica Selli. I'm the president of Women's Federation for World Peace USA. I'm your host again, and I thank you very much for joining us. And how are you all doing? I hope you're doing all right in the midst of pandemics. So this series has been designed to provide insights and new perspectives, as well as practical tools to turn crises into opportunities, provided by carefully selected speakers, as you have seen before. These women speakers are experts on those topics that we're discussing based on their personal experience as well as professional training, but they also bequeath to us a great deal of wisdom from the mother's heart. So for those who are joining us for the first time, in the previous three sessions, we discussed crises in business, crisis in education, and also our inner adversity crisis that we are facing at this time of COVID-19. However, we felt moved to add one more session for 2020 for this very eventful year. And this last session will deal with a topic which usually no one talks about, a very toxic emotion. The main reason, in fact, for most of our divides and our pandemics, our social pandemics for sure, challenges in our families, nations, and the world. And that is, of course, hate. And today we seek to discuss ways how to overcome hate. You're with me, yes? Great topic, end of the year topic. So before I introduce our prominent speakers, I'd like to share briefly about the Global Women Peace Network, what it is, and what we are about to do. Global Women Peace Network is a project of Women's Federation for World Peace International. It is a network of leaders, organizations, NGOs, and governments, institutions, and decision makers, men included, women and men, who collaborate using their resources and networks to foster peace, to create a more peaceful world in the future. Women's Federation for World Peace is an NGO in general consultative status with the Economic Social Council at the United Nations. It was co-founded by Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, who is widely known as the Mother of Peace, and her late husband, the Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon. That was 28 years ago. At that time, they announced the arrival of the era of women, indicating that women have to play a role in peace building. Our three areas of focus are women, feminine type of peace leadership, family values, and peace building. So here we are, women peace builders of all ages, all backgrounds, all religions coming together, acknowledging a common creator, and also the simple philosophy of living for the sake of others and living by the logic of love, which will propel us forward, that we believe will create a global family of love and our lives living on a healthy and well-tended planet. Wouldn't that be great? So we are ready to go for that. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers. And before I do that, I have some sad news because our speaker, Mrs. Amy Kadachian, fell ill just yesterday and is not able to join us today. But we send her our love and prayers for a quick recovery. And we know that she will certainly appear in future episodes. And we thank her also for her many great contributions in earlier presentations and series. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to introduce a young woman leader, Maggie Steele. She is a licensed school social worker, board-certified life coach, training facilitator, author, and mindfulness instructor for high school students and youth-serving professionals. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work. Maggie is dedicated to co-creating spaces where students and adults feel seen, heard, and welcomed, and is passionate about bringing trauma-informed, healing-centered, and anti-oppressive practices into schools and organizations that serve young people. As a young adult struggling with mental health challenges herself, Maggie was introduced to mindfulness in 2003 and has since dedicated her life to supporting adolescents in cultivating self-compassion, self-love, and an unshakable knowing that their being here matters. What an awesome topic. And she will speak to us today on paving the way toward connection. Maggie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. As Angelica shared, I'm a social worker and I teach social emotional learning and mindfulness programming at a public high school in Portland, Oregon, through a nonprofit called Peace in Schools. And Peace in Schools was founded in 2014 by Caverly Morgan and is the first 4-credit mindfulness program offered in a public high school in the nation. In our curriculum, we talk about the conditioned mind. So, what we've been taught to believe about ourselves, each other, and the world at large, and how we receive messages through the media, society, our friends, our family, our culture, and of course, our own lived experiences, and how the conditioned mind is often what we default to, right? Our thoughts influence our behavior. And if we're unaware or unconscious to these thoughts, we're often on autopilot and just led by these conditioned beliefs and this conditioned system. So some of you might be able to relate to this, but as a child, I remember saying, or probably yelling, "I hate this," right? And I remember being told right away, hate is a really strong word and you shouldn't really use that. Maybe use something like, "I really don't like," or "I dislike this." So I received the message that hate towards someone or something is wrong. It's too harsh. And that something's wrong with me if I feel an emotion so strongly that I might label it as hate, right? That would be bad. And I should tone it down to dislike. But the problem is that dislike doesn't truly express or encompass the experience that I'm having. And so I experience cognitive dissonance. My mind is trying to tell my body it's not having an experience that it's having. And that feels confusing, right? And not pleasant and I and difficult. What if I was able to recognize hate when it arose, right? To look at it with non-judgment and to really explore what that's about, rather than pretending that this is a strong emotion that I don't really feel, right? That that's not how I really feel. What if I consciously welcomed it, allowed it, got curious about it? So I've had the thought, "I hate this, I don't want this," before, right? I think others can relate to me there. And when I explored further, I got in touch with some fear, right? I got in touch with some sadness and some pain. And more often than not, it's a part of me that is feeling desperately unloved. So unloved, so unwanted, so powerless and vulnerable, so consumed by this pain that I lash out to regain some power, to feel in control and in power once more. And it's from this place of power that I trick myself into thinking that casting blame or shaming or judging will in some way give me what I'm desperately longing for. But it doesn't. I end up in even more pain and consumed with shame for the behavior that I acted out. And this is a cycle that I think a lot of people can relate to and one that we unpack with our students. So when we're identified with a thought, we're believing this thought as truth. We're believing that this is who I am. When we're identified with an emotion, we're believing that I am this emotion. So for anger, I am anger. I am angry. Rather than seeing that I am having this emotion. This emotion is moving through me. Just like all emotions do, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and eventually this emotion will dissipate. But when we're identified, we're believing this thought and this emotion is who we are, and we get lost in a distorted reality. When I'm identified, I'm stuck, right? I can't see possibility, and everything is limited. In fact, I can't receive another person's experience because all I see is my experience, my frustration, my view, right? When I was in high school, my brother was in elementary school and he was getting bullied. And I was so angry that I went to his school, went into the classroom, and threatened his 11-year-old classmates that if they continued to bully him, I would beat them up. I felt so powerless about what was happening to my brother that in order to regain some power, some sense of control, I ended up perpetuating the same hateful behavior by intimidating and threatening. Audre Lorde speaks to this in her book of essays, Sister Outsider. And she says the true focus of revolutionary change is never merely the oppressive situation that we seek to escape, but that piece of the oppressor which is planted deep within each of us. If I'm unable or unwilling to see the piece of the oppressor that's within my own conditioned system, how can I work to dismantle the oppressive systems that are outside of me? If I'm identified with the thought, I'm right and they're wrong, righteousness can swiftly take over and lead me to react in a habituated or conditioned way that has been the way for thousands of years, right? I'm acting out the same habituated response that some of my ancestors may have experienced as Jews fleeing persecution, or that some of my other ancestors may have engaged in as white-bodied oppressors. This is where mindfulness can assist us. And if I'm unconscious to this process, I can't do anything about it. I'm simply a puppet to my limbic system. If, however, I'm able to see and sense this process, other possibilities begin to arise. And it starts with the body. So how do we do this? We start to notice the sensations that are happening in the body when there is a charge or the beginnings of activation. So I might notice that the chest is tight, the face is warm, the breath is shallow. Again, notice I'm using witnessing language rather than language that keeps me identified with the experience. So the chest rather than my chest. That subtle shift in language can help to give us some space, some distance, right? So that we can see our experience more clearly and respond to it rather than react from it. And then maybe noticing emotion that might be present. Again, rather than I'm angry, can I see and notice the emotion that is here? Anger is here, fear is here, and see the emotion rather than be consumed by it. And then finally turning toward, and this is a really important part, turning toward the part of me that's in pain. Recognizing that this part of me is simply acting out in defense to protect me, to support me in surviving. You know, what part of me is feeling so vulnerable, so unseen, so unheard? What part of me is so in pain and perhaps fearful? Can I soften and open to learn more, to create some space to better understand that part of me, to offer some compassion, some care, some reassurance, just like you would to a small child? You're safe. I see you. You're loved. So by acknowledging the body, the emotion, and the part of us that's in pain, we're able to be fully present with our experience. And from that place of presence, of center, we can determine what right action looks like, what action that is in alignment with our authentic self looks like. And when we're able to turn towards and tend to our pain or meet the parts of us that we might label as shameful or too much, you know, whatever words that you might have been conditioned to believe about these thoughts or emotions that you have, we grow our capacity to be with discomfort so that we can embrace the hurt and integrate it. And it's the same outside of ourselves. If we maintain our view that we're right and they're wrong, we keep them separate from us. And we rob them of an opportunity of recognizing the harm that was caused. of understanding and listening to the way their behavior, their choices, their actions have impacted another living, breathing human being. Understanding the inherent connection that exists between you and me. My actions impact your being. Your being impacts my being. If we shut them out or engage in the same oppressive behavior, we not only rob them of a precious opportunity to rethink their conditioned beliefs, but we're actually reinforcing the same narrative that this way of being, this power over, is the only way of being. So what's possible if we model another way of addressing harm or pain that was caused? And what's possible if it starts with how we address this very same process inside of ourselves? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie. What a powerful, insightful presentation. And as one of the commentaries said, you know, unpacking hate instead of denying it, how powerful that is. You're kind of shifting our way of thinking, right, and paradigm, how we look at ourselves. And I was just thinking how valuable that is, especially for the next generation that easily identifies with emotions, right? So we'll talk more about that later. Thank you very much for the many points you gave us. And now we will hear from our second speaker, Mrs. Deborah Levine. Deborah Levine has a passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion inherited from her father, a World War II US military intelligence officer assigned to interrogate Nazi prisoners of war. She has more than 33 years of experience consulting in cultural diversity and keynoting for corporations, universities, and professional associations. Community builder, Deborah created the Women's Council on Diversity, the DuPage Chicago Interfaith Resource Network, and the Southeast Global Leadership School. As a cross-cultural coach, she assisted international executives from Volkswagen, Nissan, and International Paper in adapting to US Southern culture. Her training expertise is bolstered by advanced degrees in cultural anthropology, religion, and urban planning. She documented her research in multiple journals. It is the award-winning author of 15 books, ladies and gentlemen, the founder and editor-in-chief of the American Diversity Report. In her unbiased guide for leaders, she has invented a cognitive technology for addressing unconscious bias with a neuroscience-based workbook. How exciting is that? Let's welcome to the floor, Deborah Levine. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to share what I've done and hopefully give people more tools to do the same. My passion for neuroscience of cultural diversity originated when Bermuda was a British colony. It's now a Commonwealth, where I grew up in the only Jewish family to have lived there for 4 generations. My family were originally immigrants who escaped violent pogroms in Russia against Jews, came to America and then to Bermuda. But before and during World War II, my parents attended American universities, Harvard. And my mother pioneered special education, focusing on how stories shape children's minds. My father, as you heard, served in the military, and after the war was very happy to move to Bermuda, where my mother's family was. And we didn't go back to the States until I was 7 years old. And when I was in the States, my British English made me an outsider in New York. So being an outsider has been part of my life pretty much forever. I was first hired to use that background in the 1980s when I coordinated the Catholic Jewish Dialogue in Chicago for the American Jewish Committee and directed the 1990 National Workshop on Christian-Jewish Relations. And when religious differences resulted in a suburban downtown culture clash where I was living, I created the multi-faith DuPage Interfaith Resource Network and resources to help people understand They were called the Quick Reference Religious Diversity Cards, and were originally created for law enforcement so that they could understand who they were serving. Creating resources has become a mission. You heard about the 15 books. But I also wrote a script for a Holocaust education film shortly afterwards and interviewed Holocaust survivors and liberators. I got to hear their stories of how culture clash led to hate, which led to destruction, disaster. And so when there was the Oklahoma City bombing, I felt compelled to take a job in Tulsa, Oklahoma to see exactly what was happening on our native soil. I needed to understand what domestic terrorism is, what hate could do to America. And I became part of the executive planning committee for Oklahoma's Coalition Against Hate. Now, my father became alarmed when I was trained by the FBI in security and went undercover in a meeting held by a Holocaust denier named David Irving. He made arrangements to use a room in the local public library under the name, false name, Native American Constitution Party. The Native Americans were not happy, trust me. But it was the white supremacist militia doing battle drills in the woods outside of town that had him jump on a plane to Tulsa. That was when I learned that he had been a US military intelligence officer assigned to interrogate Nazis during World War II. He liberated a death camp where thousands of dead bodies had lined the walls. Horrified him, I better understood why he never had mentioned it. But he had also kept all his letters and papers from the war in his closet, in a file cabinet none of us kids really had ever opened. But now, he was worried that I was dealing with the kind of hate that had generated the inhumanity he'd experienced. And now he was willing to speak out. So I arranged for him to do a radio show interview, a recording of which is up online in my AmericanDiversityReport.com. We can get you the link for that later. Now, it is human nature to compartmentalize such horrors, bury them deep within us, and try to get on with a normal life. But when silence allows inhumanity and hate, it's time to speak up, as he did. And we saw that inhumanity in Tulsa, where neo-Nazi groups were leaving brochures on people's doorsteps and on car windows in the mall, saying that Blacks and Jews were subhuman. And therefore, any kind of violence you did to them could not be called criminal or immoral. My dad said that he could tell the person's Nazi leanings just by looking at their bookcase. Today, these groups don't need bookcase, they have the internet, right? And through cyberspace, they are recruited, particularly those who feel abandoned by the American dream. And COVID will only magnify this situation. Fortunately, there have always been people who resist hate and its destruction. And Dad wrote about meeting some of these people during the war. I have his letters. And I met them in Tulsa, where the resistance to hate came from Jews and Christians, Native Americans, African Americans, young, old, men, women. Our coalition brought good people together to demonstrate an inclusiveness that builds bridges across cultural boundaries. The coalitions are key. And after 9/11, I created the Women's Council on Diversity here in Chattanooga. And we came together to counteract this societal disarray that is often both a source of violence and a result of violence. The council grew into a global leadership class, you've heard, that would instruct and inspire not just us locally, but around a huge audience because little Chattanooga had gone global. So our Southern global connection expanded the definition of diversity to the point where we had to have that global leadership class. Absolutely. And cross-cultural communication would become vital in this new world of ours. And that's when I began developing the neuroscience-based guides for developing the brain power to engage different cultures and to do so constructively. Now, this cognitive diversity system that I invented and have refined over the years was designed to broaden the neural network of the brain with a goal to harmonize, not homogenize. Harmonize, not homogenize. It's called the Matrix Model Management System. We go. And it has a sequential process to take people through in order to do this. Because it's not enough just to say, think bigger, right? So it has to take you through the communication process that uses storytelling to change thinking. It takes you through emotional intelligence using emotion metrics to be able to measure where you are emotionally. It has long-range planning, which uses decision-making that I brought out from urban planning that can address where you want to go and the unconscious biases that may be preventing you from going where that is. So the matrix neurocommunication process enables the brain to make sense of big data because there's so much information. It's not just like, oh, shake hands like that, smile like that. It's a huge environment. When management companies started to see my work online, I became an intercultural coach for them. And that's when I started to work with executives from industries like Volkswagen and Nissan, International Paper, vendors that serve them, adapting them to a new geography here in the South, but also a different set of traditions and values, of ways we do things. And it was wonderful for them, for me. It's not just work, it's a joy. It truly was. And here's the book, Going Southern, the No Mess Guide to Success in the South. It was truly one of the wonderfulest times of my life. And it made it possible, right, for them to take their teams at work and make the most of them, maximize their knowledge, maximize them working together to be innovative, creative, and share knowledge, and not be dysfunctional because they hated each other as they were so different. So doing this, I've also coached Southerners going over to Europe. They have integrated into their new cultures too. I've helped business students with communication from Japan and South Korea and India and the Philippines, because once you can do it for some people, you can do it for many people, and we should. So it's been a pleasure, for example, to help entrepreneurs in Africa. And I am so honored to have a little baby girl named after me somewhere on the border of Uganda and Kenya. Hi, Levine. At any rate, we know that COVID is going to minimize our travel, but we're more global than ever. The internet system connects us as Zoomsters 24/7. So we need these skills to be inclusive, and we need them for virtual use. This has meant a more personal approach to online meetings, coaching, and webinars. It has to really relate across our cultural differences. Yes, we miss our usual human contact, which means that we need to be even more authentic and personable online. So that's why I emphasize particularly the storytelling nature of this system. And I call it a science because storytelling is indeed a science, just like cultural anthropology is, and they go well together. Having said all that, our online presence also requires daily vigilance because the hate generated in the dark web has been entering the mainstream through games and blogs, music, jokes, creating a world different from the rest of us. We may not agree with it. I certainly don't. But we need to know about it. And we need to be able to know that in order to protect ourselves from being sucked into the hate that sometimes looks just kind of like a game. Especially need to do this for our children who are vulnerable. And hate groups know that. They are recruiting. They know how to recruit. This is not just chance. And that's why the city of Chattanooga formed a council against hate that has an element of it dealing with young people. The collaboration in that council has been amazing. These collaborations, like this one, have become virtual groups, and they are overcoming the isolation of the COVID era and becoming partners in efforts to build a more peaceful world. Whether the groups are of women leaders or my virtual Black Jewish dialogue, which I founded this summer, there is a determination and a pooling of talent that can lead us to what we call in Hebrew, tikkun olam, repair of the world. That's the December theme for the American Diversity Report issue coming up. I created it 15 years ago, and it now has more than 800 articles which serve as resources available to all of you. It's been a joy to do all of this, to give people a voice, to bring people together online, and a joy to share it with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to call you Dr. Levine because of your very creative way to address hate, truly, right? Because it's such a monster and it's in everyone. So thank you. We have some wonderful comments already in the chat box here for both of you. Thank you so much. Maybe I just can read one of the questions here. Mrs. Levine, do you think if religious people from every denomination can work together to harmonize their communities by interacting with each other and find a common ground so they can help the people to overcome hate and listen and support each other? Do you think that that's doable?
I think that religious communities have a very definite ability to do that. And the DuPage Interfaith Resource Network, which I created, is still going now, and it's 30 years old. And the reason why it was so powerful is because different faiths came together. They all had one thing in common, if nothing else. One thing that is they believed in humanity. They believed in good works and generosity. And doing that and coming together, despite the fact that all our theologies were quite different, we were able to build community in ways that very few other coalitions could. Having said that, I want people to know that I created a book on how to do that. I created it so it's a case study of what we did.
Amazing.
Because that's what we need to do to make sure that other people can learn from what we've done. And thank you for asking that question. It's perfect.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Ms. Steele, would you like to add your comments to that?
No, I'll default to Dr. Levine.
Okay, all right, just giving you a chance here. There's another question came up. In today's toxic political climate, what response do you recommend to tone down the hateful rhetoric from our detractors and foster a more peaceful, constructive dialogue? How do we persuade hate groups and haters to recognize this principle of mindfulness, empathy, cultural diversity, shared American values, etc.? Maybe that goes to you, Ms. Steele.
Yeah, thank you.
Question.
I really feel that question in my heart and my body. I'm sitting with the same question. And I think what comes up for me when I hear that is there's different work for different folks. And we have to be able to self-determine what feels kind and safe for us, and to create boundaries so that maybe we're not the ones that are engaging in those conversations, but maybe we are sharing our experiences with others, and others are tasked to engage in those conversations, to put their bodies on the line in a way that maybe we can't. So, you know, I think about the Black Lives Matter movement, and there are so many incredible Black leaders out there that are doing some incredible healing work. And you know, there's different work to be done depending on our positionality and the identities that we hold. And I think for me, as a white-bodied educator, you know, working in the public school system, you know, being able to, again, start with myself and recognize the ways I've been conditioned. I hold bias, and look and see and kind of dismantle, as I was sharing in my speech, that part of the oppressor within me, so that I might then come from a place of love, act from a place of love to move forward and dismantle these systems outside of ourselves, and engage in really, really rich conversations with, in my particular work, or with students and fellow educators and social workers and counselors, to continue that work. So that's what comes up for me.
That is wonderful. Starting from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
It starts with me. That's what we are saying as well. I would like to give another question to Dr. Levine. Dr. Levine, I call you that. I know you would have an answer for this question too. But yeah, first of all, thank you both for your wonderful, everyone is commenting on your wonderful work that you're doing. How can you forgive atrocities Jewish people and others suffered in Germany, including other atrocities done to so many people? How can you actually forgive that?
This is an excellent question, and I know that there are many people who will answer it differently than I do. And my answer to that is, I do not. I do not forgive. I do not forget. Mm-hmm. However, having said that, right, I do believe in going forward together. That somehow there needs to be an understanding of history on both sides of what happened. We cannot simply remove it. We cannot just forget it. And, oh, well, just 6 million Jews died, it's okay. No, I don't go there. But having said that, think about the fact that I went forward to work with, and still do, Volkswagen, which was the German car of the Nazi regime. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed at what they had done with history. They have a Holocaust museum, a history museum, where they teach people. They take their executives over to Auschwitz to show them what had happened so that they could see. And I do believe that we need to know our history and move forward with that embedded in us so that we do not repeat it.
Well said. Thank you. Ms. Steele, would you like to comment on that as well? How do you forgive an atrocity, let's say, a serious atrocity?
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, Dr. Levine. I think, again, as someone who has worked with a lot of folks who have trauma and who I am a trauma survivor, I think that forgiveness, it's often like packaged in a way. It's like, in order to heal, you have to forgive. And actually, that is not the case. That it can actually be re-traumatizing and can cause a lot of harm. I think it's a choice that can come individually. Like what feels supportive for you on your journey to healing is going to look different for everyone. And I think it can also, it can offer up some, if I am able to recognize that that's not something that I can forgive, that just that process of recognizing that can actually heal, right? It doesn't have to be that I forgive this person. I could say, okay, I'm going to accept that this happened to me or my ancestors or whoever, my friends, my family, and that acceptance of saying, okay, this happened, is in a way what allows my heart to heal and move forward, rather than saying, okay, that I'm okay with what happened, if that makes sense.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, denial never works, right? Denial never works. You got to be honest, accept what is and what isn't, and then change can come, right? So thank you. Maybe, I don't know, one more question we have here. Let's see. Do you think at the, let's see, do you think at the, all the news of hatred and violence in the news is breeding more division in our culture, or not necessarily? Both of you are addressed. The news that's going out every day, you know, because we are reiterating the negative, so to speak.
I believe we are in a very challenging time. The combination of the COVID, of the economic disarray, of the Black Lives Matter, of the shift in the economics, which will be felt, I think, even more so in the coming year. It is a situation that has historically grown the hate groups, the conspiracy theories, the ideas of separate cultures not going in together at all. So those of us who are peacemakers, leaders in that peacemaking world, have to step up even more so. And the coalitions that we have formed, and perhaps the coalitions we will form in the future, right, are key, right, to maintaining some sense of humanity and sensitivity going forward. So we have our work cut out for us. Will it change everything? Probably not. But without us, what will happen?
Oh, wonderful. Exactly. Bravo, I can say. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is already up for more questions. There are more questions in the box here. So I want to just say that we will give those questions to you, if that's all right with you, to answer maybe afterwards to those who would like to hear the answer. If you give us your email, please. And then also how you can be reached. We'll put that in the box. I just want to say what I'm getting from both of you. And I really am sorry that Miss Amy Kodachin couldn't be with us, because her topic would have been, what is true forgiveness, right? It would have been a real interesting topic after we talk about what does it mean to you? And everyone has their own take on it, right? But I think we learned that it starts with me. I have to change it within myself, first of all, right? So I cannot perpetuate that hate. That is self-discipline, really. And then turn it into something positive. And as one viewer said here, you know, we would like to know what the young students think about that too. You know, at some other point, there needs to be a discussion. How does the next generation look at this? You know, this topic that we're dealing with. And so thank you for giving us so many tools in a short time, even your books and everything. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to our awesome speakers of today. And so at this moment, we actually I want to say that please do continue the discussion. I want to ask the participants of today. This is an ongoing discussion. I would like to ask if you continue the discussion even at home over holidays. Why not? You sit around the table, the dinner table with your family. Ask what your family thinks about what do you think is the can we do to overcome. Even asking the question will make people think on a different level, right? And just keep reacting and reacting. So as a peacemaker myself, and passionate peacemaker, I know it's the hardest job anybody can ever have. It takes a lot to not give up, right? Okay, with that being said, we come to a wonderful moment in the program, and that is we are giving the Her Story Award today to one of our panelists, in fact, Ms. Deborah Levine. And just want to mention that the Her Story Award is bequeathed to women of all ages who have accomplished extraordinary things, have overcome the odds, unspeakable challenges, and turned pain into purpose and trouble into triumph. And that is you, Mrs. Levine. We're really proud of you. And so I'd like to present the award on the screen for now, but it will be sent to your home so you can receive it personally. Can we see I'm sorry. I have to, before I see the actual award, I want to share a little bit more than what we see on the award. Why do we give you the award? On this day, December the 9th, we bequeath the Her Story Award to you for your lifetime of giving generously the vast wealth of knowledge that you share to audiences as broadly diverse as corporate boardrooms, offices of social and civil society, interfaith organizations, educational platforms from kindergarten to PhD, while addressing racial and cultural animosities, as well as practical steps for individuals and organizations to grow and improve in an era of great change. Yes, we are in an era of great change. Your comprehensive ability to impart wisdom with humor, that's the thing, while opening the hearts, going after the hearts of people, right? And minds of diverse populations. It has won you acclaim from religious leaders, social workers, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, academia, public officials, and medical providers. You are described by one of these as someone with a teacher's heart and healer's spirit to bring us to the core of working with diversity. Isn't that most appropriate woman that we are bequeathing this Her Story Award to? Let us give a round of applause to Ms. Levine. And here it says, we honor your outstanding and exemplary leadership and lifetime investment in overcoming hate, addressing racial and cultural animosities. We applaud your great gift of opening the hearts and minds of diverse audiences with your wisdom and humor, thereby fostering genuine conversations, hopefully they continue, and healing and peace. Congratulations, Dr. Levine.
My goodness. Oh.
Now it is your turn to say a few words.
Oh my. This award means so much to me. Thank you. Part of me is speechless, but I know that that doesn't help. So I will share with you that 20 years ago, I had to resign from my full-time job running Jewish Federation because I had become deathly ill after a mission to Uzbekistan. And I felt that I'd lost everything. The doctors couldn't tell me if I'd recover and how long I'd have to live. But I decided that I'd use whatever time I had to make a difference in this world. I've been given this time, I believe, by divine miracle and guidance to a path to create tikkun olam, repair of the world. It's a path where I feel at home with the history, as well as being part of the future of making a difference. I'm so grateful to all the angels who have been with me on this journey, the women that I've collaborated with, the men who have supported me and promoted my work. This period of my life where I anticipated death so often has turned out to be the most productive one ever. It has given me the opportunity to not only create what hadn't existed, but to inspire and shape new generations to be innovators and change makers for the better world. I've traveled very little in these 20 years, yet I've been able to cross the globe and experience cultures virtually. And I've gotten to share my work with more people than I'd ever imagined. And along the way, I've learned lessons that have been both academic, researched, and hands-on experience. It's true that when diverse voices can communicate across cultural boundaries, whether gender, generation, race, religion, nationality, their messages of collaboration, inclusion, and peacemaking can be heard around the world. Value that cross-cultural expertise, nurture it, put it into practice. And I also learned that innovators can magnify their efforts by writing, record what you do. Make sure that all your inventions and creations and your thoughts are replicable and sustainable by writing them down. Not only will they transform other people, they transform you. You become better every day. And the internet can spread your writing far and wide. It can give you a voice that has a broad reach and impact with years to come. And lately, I've learned, unfortunately, that hate can survive for years, for generations. Do not underestimate its appeal, especially in these chaotic times. More than ever, we need to know what it looks like, how it operates, when it surfaces, and whom it recruits. As our culture is rapidly changing due to COVID, we need to come together to collaborate in peacemaking. I've gotten so much joy from my councils and coalitions and dialogues. Let's make sure that the world sees such efforts and understands how vital they are for a future where our lives are at peace, as are we.
Beautiful.
Thank you again.
Bravo. Thank you, Dr. Levine. I keep calling you doctor, forgive me, okay? Because
No,
you
I love it. I love it.
You're a
I was going to get a doctorate one day.
doctor of so many accomplishments, and we really honor you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So I want to give Ms. Steele one more opportunity to give final remarks, if you will. Would you like to conclude the final remark?
I'm just really honored to be a part of this event. And if you are interested in learning more about the work that I do at Peace in Schools, it's in the chat box, the link, but peaceinschools.org. We serve last year over 3,000 students last year, and we're in, I think it's 10 high schools in the Portland Public School District. And we also serve educators and youth serving professionals through our programming. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about what we do and the ways in which we're kind of, again, speaking to that way in which we can dismantle the conditioned systems within to create real change outside of ourselves as well, please reach out. We're happy to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, the information is in the chat box. Very enriching from the inside and the outside. We got many tools today, right? And here is a comment that we give you the doctorate from WFWP University.
I love it. I always wanted it.
Why not? We're peacemakers, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So thank you again, both of you ladies, and thank you, Amy, for watching this whenever. I now want to end on a very high note with a special treat for you all by calling up our regional West Coast Director for Women's Federation for World Peace, Dr. Linda Nishikawa. She will read us a special poem to close us out. Dr. Linda Nishikawa, please go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, good morning, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. I am privileged to read an award-winning poem from Reverend Dr. Samuel Moon. At the age of 16, he wrote this poem in deep prayer with God in learning the life of Jesus. It reflects overcoming hate with victory. For me, he is a champion, an expert, and one who has been a peacemaker for sacred healing. In his own right, he has overcome so much hatred and anguish, and including 6 times of imprisonment. I want to have you read this poem along with me, Crown of Glory, and in so doing, may you find something that touches your heart to help you to overcome peace, and that you, at the end of your life, receive the crown of glory. This poem was written in 1935. When I doubt people, I feel pain. When I judge people, it is unbearable. When I hate people, there is no value to my existence. Yet, if I believe, I am deceived. If I love, I am betrayed. Suffering and grieving tonight, my head in my hands. Am I wrong? Yes, I am wrong. Even though we are deceived, still believe. Though we are betrayed, still forgive. Love completely, even those who hate you. Wipe your tears away and welcome with a smile those who know nothing but deceit, and those who betray without regret. O Master, the pain of loving. Look at my hands. Place your hand on my chest. My heart is bursting, such agony. But when I loved those who acted against me, I brought victory. If you had done the same things, I will give you the crown of glory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. Powerful words to contemplate. And certainly our founders have not only spoken those words, but lived by them all their lives, as both their autobiographies are testifying. So with that, it concludes our official part, and I want to go into a few announcements, which might be exciting for you, I hope, right? We'll first watch a video together to introduce our Global Friends feature. Please enjoy. You like it? Yes? Wonderful women from all backgrounds working together for peace. I feel we're all called, we're passionate about this. So we invite you to join the Global Friends in our website. It will be in the chat box. And I want to just take a moment to also, as we close this year together, to thank all those who participated in previous episodes of the Global Peace Forum. I want to just let you know that we have reached 12,246 plus viewers through this series. So even though not everyone might be joining in right now, these videos and recordings go far and wide, even beyond when they are happening. And I want to encourage you to maybe take one of those videos for yourself and revisit it and rediscuss it with friends and colleagues. So thank you very, very much for all those who've been supporting us and continuing the discussion, continuing the theme of bringing peace from the inside out. So thank you very, very much, everyone. Round of applause for the last 4 sessions, including this awesome one today. And so next, there is a moment that many of you were waiting for. We are giving three free copies of Mother Moon's A Memoir of the Mother of Peace, and God Shall Wipe Away Your Tears. So what do you do to get it? You have to type in hashtag, ready, drum roll, Greater Peace in 2021, exclamation mark, with space in between, ready, set, go. US winners only, sorry. But as we are doing this, you know, we want to mention that Mother Moon has been really the greatest global woman peace leader of our time, because just last week she conducted the 4th Rally of Hope, which attracted 380 million viewers from around the world. Many heads of state, top religious leaders from every continent delivered messages of hope and inspiration. Her memoir is full of insights, spiritual guidance, inspiration, and stories. How she and her husband have overcome not only difficulties and crises, but life and death situations, and yes, overcome hate over and over and over, and forgiven their arch enemies. It is an amazing book whose time has come, right? Ladies, so even if you are not the winner here, I encourage you to go to Amazon.com. It's available also in Kindle version. I want to also mention that one of our Global Women Peace Network speakers, Dr. Susan Taffer, was recently interviewed on Facebook Live about Mother Moon's book. And we are making her interview available for you as well to see, because it's really like a window into that book. And I believe women leaders, especially peace leaders, almost need to read that book. There is really no one like Mother Moon that I have seen who has that kind of track record, also as a wife of 14 children and as a leader currently calling together the entire world leadership for peace and reconciliation based on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. So ladies, you're in the right place. Having said that, we also have the Greater Peace in 2021 fundraiser going on right now, because we believe in the work that we're doing, and we also do need the support of you and others to continue sustaining our staff in our efforts internationally, nationally, so it can be in this next year, in the next 5-10 years. We want to really spread that message and vision and heart that comes with it to as many people and populations as possible. We want to challenge here in America to reach 1/3 of the women population. How's that? Will you join us? Will you join us?
Yes.
So, yeah, why not, right? Why not promote peace like everybody promotes hate? Now coming back to close the end, to the end, I'd like you, please stay in touch. Please stay in tune with us and sign up at the wfwp.us/GWPN-connect, and we'll keep you informed of upcoming events such as this one. And also we prepared a reflection for you, a reflection sheet, a survey to hear from you what you received out of this particular session, what you gained from it, and also previous sessions, and also what other topics would you like us to see cover in 2021 and beyond. We really value you because you make that a collective experience. We together create this event, right? And so again, thank you very much for attending. And now I'd like to reveal to you the miracle workers behind the scenes that have made this all possible. Please appear. These are young women leaders, right? That have helped us make this possible. We have Kiyomi here, Kiyomi Schmidt, maybe wave.
Hi.
Outreach Director. We have also Johanna Rothstein, she is our Administrator Director, and we have Shrishti Piru. She's our new Global Women Peace Network Coordinator. So thank you so much, ladies. Without you, I couldn't have done this. Round of applause. And so as we close this time and this year together, we wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and have a wonderful time, safe time with your families, loved ones, over Zoom or in person. And most of all, a happy, very happy, more peaceful 2021. And we make it more peaceful. Yes? Round of applause to all of you. And see you next year.